So now we are live. All right, everybody. This is episode 6. I'm super excited. This is the Doug and Fur Show. I'm Doug Petrozelli, my partner in truth.
Fernando, and we have a guest today.
We have a special guest.
Oh my
Do
gosh.
you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Chelsey.
All right, Chelsey Fabregas. You can follow her at Hey Chels.
Yes.
And
Okay,
yeah,
so it looks good, right? Let me hear the audio. Yeah, the audio is good.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds really
That's
good. So today we are going to discuss feminism, and we have brought the most feminist person I ever known. No, she's actually a really great friend of both of ours. I'm really excited to have her on the show. So I just wanted to open it up. I wanted to open the floor to you if you had anything, or we could dive right into it. You tell me what you want. You can introduce yourself, give us a little background.
Okay, so I guess we could get right into it.
Okay.
So based off what we were talking about last time, right?
Right.
How we were talking about segregation by class and
Right.
race and gender. So I guess the first one we're going to get into in this, mini series is
Right.
gender, right? And this idea that that men and women are different, which they are,
Right.
but the idea that one is greater than the other,
Right.
just like it applies in race, and or just like they say it in race, how one race is greater than the other equals racism.
Right.
So one gender being greater than the other, or one sex being greater than the other, is
Sexist.
Right.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna the idea of talking about critical theory, postmodernism. We did that a broad scope on that on our last episode for anybody who didn't watch. And this one is going to we're gonna start doing this mini series. Except for next week, we do have a very, very special
2 weeks.
guest.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, next show. We're happy with this guest.
Yeah.
But
Relax.
we also have a very special surprise that we're super excited for. Almost as excited as I was for this one. So
Is
this
it Trump?
Oh, that,
No.
that will be all.
Is it a
all in due
surprise
time.
or?
At the moment, it is a surprise.
Okay, all right.
In a
We
few
won't-
hours, actually, it won't be, but because of the timing. But yes, it is a
Okay.
surprise at the moment.
I'll take it out there.
So you're making me lose my train of thought. Okay, so yes, on this mini-series that we're talking about, we wanted to study postmodernism. We want to study critical theory, which basically says all inequities, all inequalities are direct results of inequity. That if somebody is prosperous, it's because they are oppressing somebody else. And this goes into many different areas. This goes into the transgender theory. This goes into fat theory, which is a real thing, believe it or not.
Mhm.
This goes into critical race theory, and today we're going to be talking about specifically gender theory.
So the idea is that men are more successful than women because they're oppressing women, according to critical theory.
Sure.
Men are more successful than women because they're oppressing women. That's the claim. That's the bold claim. So
Right,
we're gonna debunk that today, right?
Yes, that is our hope. That is our hope. So one of the things that we do want to point out is that we do believe our Constitution is the most beautiful and most eloquent and greatest piece of human literature ever. And I say human literature because I do believe there's better spiritual literature. But human literature ever put together by human beings. And we want to clarify that the Constitution's ideas are something that I believe are damn near perfect. But we as people have not always upheld to those ideas.
Right.
Just as Christianity, I believe, actually is perfect, though the church, though Christians have not always held up to those ideas perfectly. We still don't, but we do believe that.
Touching on the Constitution there, I think the idea that it's near perfect, it's not that the Constitution itself is perfect, but it's the fact that our founding fathers allowed for change to better represent morals as we age as a nation.
Sure.
That's what makes it so good, right? Because like different amendments come around
Right.
that push us towards excellence. If it was this thing that's written in stone and can
Right.
never change, then it definitely wouldn't be a good thing.
Right.
But this whole idea that through due process and through legislation and in a civilized manner we can introduce amendments that further prosper us human beings in America, I think that's what makes it so good.
Absolutely.
So
So talking about feminism, we want to talk about the original, the origins of feminism. I think are actually really great. Also, by the way, feel free to phone in. We got the number on the screen. We would really like to hear from you. We want to
Some
take
of you.
calls. What's that?
Some of you.
So, well, we're
I want to hear from everyone.
please, especially if you have an opposing view, please give us a
Especially
call.
if you want to oppose Chelsey here.
Yeah, because she is amazing.
Something like that.
So we want to talk about the foundations of it is because there was a time when the United States did not uphold to the ideas that every person was created equally. There was a point in time where the United States did not uphold the value specifically in this conversation of women. We did not value women in the sense of thinking they had an equal place in the workplace. That we didn't think they could do some of the same things that men can do. And I do believe that there are some things women can do just as well. I don't believe everything, but I also believe that it's vice versa. But I do also believe that there's certain things women are a little bit better than for the most part, and there's some things that men are better at for the most
A little
part.
bit.
Just keep throwing in the little
But
bit.
my point being that when it comes to things as entrepreneurial, when it comes to running businesses, when it comes to being in charge, my whole hope as a libertarian, I really don't care what you. I want to know, can you do the job? And I, not just in my own experience, but statistical evidence and actually looking at things, there are women who can do really good job at leadership. There are women who can run really good businesses. There are also men who can do a really bad job at those things. My point being is there was a time where we didn't give women the chance. We didn't think that they were ever going to do
Right.
any of these things.
And I
Go
think
ahead.
so like I think what the original definition of feminism is that men should have equal rights as women, or women should have equal rights as men, right?
Sure.
And if that's what feminism is, then I am a proud feminist.
All right.
And I think
I don't know if I'll ever say that.
well, that's what feminism is. Women should have equal rights to men.
Yes.
If that's what we're defining it as, then yes, I am. And I would say that our faith, Jesus,
Right.
would also agree,
Right.
and we can get into a little story about that later. But I think over the years here in the United States, the definition of feminism has transformed
Yes.
into this whole, like, it's an overcorrection. Now it's men are evil. There's
It's
the
an
patriarchy.
anti-men.
Exactly,
movement.
and it's no longer, hey,
Right.
let's have equal rights. It's like, hey, let's put down men
Right.
Right.
because they're the cause of our suffering, which comes back to this critical theory. It's
Right.
they're oppressing us, and that's why we're failing.
Right.
So there, I definitely don't agree with that. And I think we can break it down into different aspects of feminism, starting with perhaps in the workplace. Then we can move into other areas like cultural and social issues, like when
Right.
it comes to reproductive rights and things like that.
Well, let's just get into Chelsey. Let's have her. I'm going to ask
Okay.
her a few questions.
Oh.
As
No one sent me
a
these
woman
questions.
who is, I think, a very professional woman, do you want to give us just an idea of what you do? What are your goals? I find you, at the moment, she is single.
Oh my god.
And I find, well, I say single,
Where are you
she's
going
not
with
in
this?
any serious relationship,
No, I'm not
but
in
I'm saying
anything.
she's a very independent, very driven woman, very professional woman. I've seen her move into different areas of career paths. I've always seen her be successful. She has goals, aspirations, and I just want you to share a little bit of that. What your career path, what your goals are financially, personally, home buying, things of that nature.
Okay. Let's see. I'm currently working in the dental field. It's a field that I was working in right after high school and that I am back in. I love it. I find myself wherever I may be, whatever career path I take, which I've taken several, from private investigations to dental to medical. I always move quickly up. I don't like to stay in a place of, I guess I like to lead. I don't like to follow.
All right.
Which gets me in a lot of trouble. But yeah, I'm very kind of future visioned.
Right.
I don't really see things in the now. I see things in the future. I'm like that when it comes to action. So like consequences, I'm always thinking. Sometimes my friends don't like it because I'm the mom of the group, and I always think like, how is this going to affect the future? So I'm a very future-minded person.
Right.
So just everything I do kind of reflects that. So when I think of a job, or if I'm planning on moving jobs or moving to be promoted, I always think of like, okay, I want to buy a house in this time, so how is it going to be as doable, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that's one thing I've always kind of like appreciated in you, that you are not. I don't think you're opposed to having a man and buying a house with him, but you want to buy a house, and that's a goal that you are striving for. And I don't think that you're letting anything hold you back from that.
Maybe my Starbucks, but other than that.
But you're not allowing anything to hold you back from that, and I think that's really commendable. So what would you have to say? What would you say to somebody that says, you're a woman, you're held back, you're not going to, let's just say, get to the place that me and Fernando are going to get to on their own? What would you say to something like that? Because let's talk about personal experience, and then we can get into actual stats. But we brought you on because we want actual experience.
I've never felt like I've been held back because I'm a woman. If anything, I've felt like I've kind of pushed forward. I'm very good at administration, so you know, you move up a lot when you work professionally in administration. But I don't know, I've never felt that. When I worked as a private investigator, I worked with a lot of men. It's a very men-dominated career. I made the same thing as a man. I don't know, I've never felt oppressed because I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm. So you don't feel like, do you feel like in the workplace you're treated unequally?
I don't, but I also think it comes down to personality. Because I don't think I would ever allow anyone in the workplace to treat me
Yeah, so it has
unequally.
nothing to do with your sex.
Right, it has nothing to do with me being a woman.
Okay.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. So you would say that where you are, I mean, your experience is what you put in is what you get out. Would you say that's your experience?
I think that's, about life in general.
Right. You know, be able to buy a car, be able to do all these things, or if you work hard, you put your mind to it, for the most part, you're going to get ahead. There's always exceptions.
Right, of course.
But yes.
But yeah, for the most part, you get what you give.
Awesome. So, like I've cited on this program before, we've talked about the Brookings Institution that says if you do these three things in the United States, because the land of opportunity that we are in, this is not a global thing, but in the United States, and I would probably say in the Western world, but this specific Brookings Institution, this a study that was done, was specifically talking about in the United States, if you do these three things, if you graduate high school, you do not have any children before you are married, and you work a full-time job, 75% of these people will end up in the middle class. So this is not just not being poor, but you will actually be above the working class, and you will end up in the middle class. 75% of people who do these things, and I believe that in the study it said 2% of people who do these things end up and remain in poverty. So
super low numbers.
You would say that that's a very big reflection of your life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, happy to, because I can say that, but I've also been thrown back, and there's people that agree with me. Oh yeah, you make good choices, and this is what happens to you. But I've also been told, well, you're white male privilege, and that's why you get where you're at. And I mean, that's just basically an argument that's unwinnable, because I can't tell you that I have.
That
other,
you're not a white male.
Well, right, I am a white male. But I can tell you that I have other friends and family members who have made poor decisions, and they haven't ended up where I am.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we live in a world, at least in the United States, and I would say broader, even in the Western world, Western democracies, that for the most part, exceptions aside, don't give a damn what color you are, what sex you are, that if you work hard, you will get ahead. We're not all going to be Bill Gates, but that's okay. But if we work hard, we make good decisions, that does generally equal a good life for the most part.
Well, I'm Hispanic. I'm a Hispanic male. You're a Hispanic female, and we kind of reflect those statistics, right? I don't have any children. You don't have any children, I hope.
No.
Well, she would be there for it.
I would have participated.
Or else I graduated high school, I have a full-time job. You graduated high school, you have a full-time job, and I feel like we both feel accomplished in our fields and in life. So I think we can jump into some of these statistics that you were talking about, and then perhaps I can share a personal story that would corroborate the statistics.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've always found fascinating about the feminist, ideology, because the biggest form of oppression right now is that, like, because I always want to say, what is the numbers? Give me numbers. You
Right.
can't, you can't just say that this oppression is in the air and it's just
Right.
there.
Mhm.
Show me what it is, and I'd be more than willing to fight it with you, because I'm for freedom. I'm a libertarian. I actually want the government out of things, and I do believe that humanity, as it has become more free, we have become more prosperous and we've become more peaceful. We've become more right living.
Yeah.
The
So
more free we become.
so if we start with the wage gap, right?
Right.
The statistic we most hear is, what is it? Oh, a woman makes 77 cents to a man's dollar,
Right.
right? And that's like the most used statistics.
Right.
Yeah, the statistic is true, but it's missing so many things.
Absolutely.
Right. It's missing how they even got to that statistic.
Exactly. So it's like the statistic is calculated really simply. You take a sample size of men and a sample size of women that are both working full-time jobs,
Right.
compare the median salary of women to the median salary of men, divide it. That
Right.
is like such a misleading statistic. You can do the same thing with any statistic for anything and just grab misleading numbers like that and
Right.
bend it to say what you want it to say.
Right.
But in the statistic, I mean, you're not taking into account the field that
Yeah.
that these sample groups are in,
Right.
what they specialize in, and I think there were some other things here that they're not taking into account that make
Right,
a
well-
huge difference, like choices and things like that.
Right. Well, one of the biggest things is that all careers, all labor is not created equally. A doctor is paid more than a sanitation worker. Does
Uh-huh.
that make one better than the other? No, but labor is different. To be able to do the labor of a doctor takes way more time than
Yeah,
to be a
more debt.
sanitation worker. It takes way more risk. So there's a higher demand because there's less people who can do that.
Yeah, it's
That's
all supply and
ultimately
demand.
going to do. Like, it's not this, that gets into the whole thing of like equal pay for equal labor. It's like, well, what is equal labor? It's not actually, what we exert in our heart rate and our BPM. It's actually
The
what you're
position,
able
yeah,
to do.
exactly.
I cannot do heart surgery because that takes about 8 years of school,
Yeah, I don't
3
think I would
years of
trust you.
residency,
Mhm.
and about $1 million worth of schooling.
Yeah.
And that's something that is, not every day. Not everybody is doing that. So doctors are paid more because simply they have a skill that many people don't have. There's a high demand and there's a low supply.
So
That makes the prices go up.
let's debunk this really quickly, or
Yeah.
not. It's not going to necessarily debunk it, but it's just going to explain how the statistic doesn't make sense as a standalone statistic. You have to take into account something. So, doctors are paid more than teachers, correct?
Yes.
Right.
So, now this is a made-up statistic, what I'm about to say, but it's just to mathematically show. If 75% of doctors are men and 75% of teachers are women, and now you take the same statistic, obviously
Right.
men are going to make more than women.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that 75% of doctors are men, but that's just to show how like the math doesn't work out that way. You need to take into account everything.
Right.
You would have to take a pool of the same occupation, degree,
Mm-hmm.
time span doing the job. I mean, you'd have to take like mirror image people, male and female, put them in a pool, 10 and 10, and figure out.
And
Right.
there are organizations that have done this, including feminist organizations that
Right.
have done this, and they actually found that this whole not equal pay for the same job is actually not true.
Yeah.
Um,
It goes down to like 6 cents or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
6 cents,
there
and
is- right.
that 6 cent gap can't be explained by the fact that they're female or male.
Right, it's
It's
just choice.
just a bunch of other things like I think one video I was watching is that when women reach like their 30s or something, the gap gets bigger.
Right.
Obviously, they usually tend to have children around
Right.
that time. They
Yeah.
take extended leaves and
Yes.
things like that. And by the way, when we're saying here is we're classifying, we're generalizing. We're not saying every woman or every man. These are just statistically the largest sample, like on a bell curve or whatever.
Right.
So like, and then when they actually get back into work after they've raised their children, they actually make more than men, I think, and if not more, about the same.
Right. Right.
So I actually, this is what I was gonna say, is I have a coworker,
Right.
and she's excellent. She's a woman. She's from India, and she has the same exact job title as me. And we're supposed to be doing the exact same work. she works so much harder than I do, and I feel like she's way smarter than I am when it comes to our professions, and she makes more than me. And there's absolutely zero discrimination there, and that's just my personal experience. And this has happened in my past, in other positions I've been in. I've had female bosses in my position who obviously make more than me because they're bosses, and when compared to other people in their same position, to bosses that would rank the same,
Right.
she still makes more than them.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is true for everyone. This is my field of computer science and project management and all that stuff. But that's just an example, like personal experience of how this whole idea that women make less than men for the same job is just not true.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things you were talking about, I think it was the study was specifically talking about women with MBAs, masters. In business. And they were saying that first graduating high school, I don't have the exact numbers, but first graduating with this MBA, going into the workforce, I think was the average female was making like $115,000 a year, and the average male was making $117,000. So very small gap. Yes, there's a gap, very small, but it was 10 years into it that the gap really widened, where women with that degree in that field were making $250,000 10 years into that field, and the men were making $400,000.
Was it that much?
Yes, it was massive. But one of the things was, what is happening there?
Right.
Women are having children. They're taking time off. Where a man that is building a company, more than likely, not all the time, but men are typically more driven. They want to work more hours.
Yeah,
they're not as men have to maybe force themselves to be more family oriented. Where a woman is like, I'd rather make $250 and have this great life and relationships, and I think with my family and kids, than make $400,000 and lose that.
Well, and it's physically not possible.
Yeah.
To do that, actually even having
Right.
the physical child too.
And
so these are choices that men are more geared toward being work oriented, and women are more geared toward being relationship oriented. So just in that idea, if you're working more and you're putting more time into, that business is going to grow, or whatever you're doing.
And again, this is not like, I just want to specify, like this, we're not saying, hey, all women are like this and all men are like this.
Right.
We're not. They're sometimes they aren't, and they don't have to be.
Right.
So women, I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman saying, no, you know what, I want to stay at work and I want to further my career after I have this child, and you stay at home. Obviously there's like conflict resolution that needs to happen there between the wife and the husband, but if it's something they both agree upon, then go for it. I think that they both have the capability to do that, and not one is going to be less at odds than the other. I think that they both have the capability to do that if they work hard. But just genetics and naturally speaking, like from birth, it just so happens that certain things are the way they are. Like some people are more muscular than others, and some people have a tendency to get fatter more than others, things like that. So it's just the way it is in some cases. Right.
So now I don't know. Do you? I want to talk about the sports topic because that is something that has been in light, where women are saying we are getting paid to do the exact same job, but we're the women's team and we're getting paid far less in the NBA than they do in the WNBA. The men's soccer team in the U.S., Olympic soccer team, to the female women's soccer team, and they're saying that we got the gold medal, the women's soccer team, and the men have not gotten gold medal. And how come the men are being paid more? I want to know what your thoughts are on that, Chelsey.
There's really quick. There's one thing we didn't mention when we were talking about the other thing about, we were kind of trying to show how the wage gap is a myth, and we said, well, if there really was this wage gap where women are paid less than men, then why don't companies just hire all women?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a business and there was somebody doing the same exact job for less pay, all women. Yeah. All women.
It makes sense. Why do people take their jobs international? Because it's cheaper, right?
Exactly.
So why do people have factories in other countries? Because it's cheaper. So the same thing would happen here. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's business.
Yeah. Right. It's supply and demand. It's the bottom line.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
So yes, let's get back into it. So what do you say to the women activists who are saying on the sports teams? The WNBA, they're saying I forget the highest paid player is getting paid $250,000 a year, which I think is great. I wouldn't complain about. I don't make $250,000 a year, but I think that's great. But to compare that to a LeBron James, who
Right.
is making millions of dollars a season,
Yeah.
to say they're doing the exact same job.
Unfortunately, it's popularity. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
bottom line is a show, right? Game of Thrones makes millions, but you can find another random show on Netflix that's barely made it.
Right.
So, and it doesn't matter if all men or all women are on it. I mean, it's about popularity. No one sits down to watch, we don't have watch parties for women's basketball, but we saw almost every NBA final game together.
Yeah,
It just, no one...
I've never
It's not as
seen.
popular.
I've never seen. I honestly will be honest. Like, this is not a sexist thing of me, but I wouldn't even know where to find an airing of a WNBA game.
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
Right.
I've never seen one.
Right.
And I would say that, yeah, I agree they are doing the same job. And you know what? Yeah, sure, pay them the same. Find the company that's going to pay them the
Right.
same.
They
No one's going to
choose
do it.
this career knowing that, this sport that they play is not as mainstream
Right.
as the male.
I
Right,
think
right.
I'm all for them getting paid the same, and if you want them to be paid the same, then you need to watch more WNBA and less
Right,
NBA.
right.
And if people do that, like if that's what you really want, that's what you really support, then tell all your friends and tell everyone in the world to watch the WNBA and stop
Right.
watching the NBA, and then
Right.
you're gonna see
Produce
how
the-
women are gonna get
Produce
paid
the
more.
revenue. Produce the revenue. Get it on everything. But the point is, and this is the harsh reality, and maybe this is going to be strong. Maybe people aren't going to like this, but the harsh reality
I'm not
is...
getting canceled a third time.
Hey, man. The harsh reality is that when I am looking for somebody to produce athletic ability, I want to see the fastest. I want to see the most athletic players that there are. And when it comes to sports, this is not sexist thing to say. It is biological reality that men are more athletic than women. I'm not saying that there's never been a man that never went up against a woman,
And
that the
lost.
woman... Right, exactly. That does happen. But when you compete and you make the best of the best, that is a reality. Even the women that's saying they're doing the same exact job as the NBA, which I guess there's a fair point. They are playing basketball. But if they're doing the same exact job, they'd be making it on the men's team. And they can't. They're not good enough. That's just a reality. There's
That
not...
sounds so sexist.
Well, that's...
But I know what you mean.
Exactly.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's because we watch. You're kind of comparing like if women were to play with men.
Right.
Yeah. And
But
biologically,
biologically till today they cannot. So,
That's another
I know
show.
where you're getting. I know where you're going.
but when it comes to man playing with man and women playing with women, then you don't see that difference,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's the same level
Right.
that you're playing. So, yes, but no, because yes, I could understand how that could be difficult with
Right.
Men and women, but
Right.
since you don't see that difference, but I just think in general, if you want to get paid the same as men, then you need to do something that's as popular
Right.
as the men. No one.
Yeah, like
Right.
models and
Like
actresses.
women's football. I'm sure that there's teams, but who watches women's football?
There's not a
I
platform. for it.
I'm pretty sure women like models get paid more than male models. I mean, I think I'm just pulling this
I
out
don't
of
know.
my.
I don't
But
know.
I
I
think-
that's something to look into.
Yeah.
But
I just
I'm
feel
sure it
like
would
I
be.
mean I don't know how many male Victoria's Secret models there are.
there are
You
I
know,
don't
compared
I
to
don't think there's
female.
one. I've never seen one.
I've never
So-
seen one.
Not that I watched. That's what I heard.
So yeah.
Oof.
I heard.
And I
We'll talk after.
and I think what you were saying, like, I just want to interject here with what you were saying about you wanting to watch the fastest and the most athletic. I think that's true of most people, and that's why male sports are more popular than female sports. But that's a personal opinion. That's a personal taste. I
Right.
personally love watching women's softball because and little league baseball and things like that. I don't know. Sometimes I just find enjoyment in watching people that are not as skilled play a sport and watching to see how it plays out. But that's just my personal opinion. That's my personal taste, and I'm sure there are other people like that. But the majority of people are like you and like watching the most athletic and
Right.
the fastest and all of that, and that's why these things have so much popularity. And I think the same thing applies to female models. The majority of people will rather see female runway models than male models.
Right.
Of
Because
course.
female models are geared towards men, but females aren't as like, oh, look at this male model, etc.
Right.
Right.
Women aren't typically as visual as the
As
men
visual
are.
as men, yeah.
Right.
So it's all about popularity and what makes money. I think money drives
What's
everything.
producing the revenue? You can't have a desire to make a certain amount of money without a revenue
Exactly.
behind it.
You can't pay people more if there's no more
There's
no
no
money to
more
pay
money.
They're
them.
not
Right.
creating wealth. You know, you want to make money, you have to create wealth, and that's just the reality. And one of the things that I was looking at when we were talking about actual skills of women, like actual athletic ability, and I didn't realize that the disparity of physical ability is quite wide, and that's not a fault on humanity. That's not a fault on society. This is how
nature.
God
That's how it is.
created us. So the fastest woman in the world, the woman who holds the fastest record in the world, I forget what particular sprint it was that she ran, but she's considered the fastest woman in the world. I forget her name. Please forgive me. But they did a study on this, and they looked at her time, and they gave the time of the top 300 high school guys. High school. These aren't college guys. These aren't Olympic athlete guys. These are the top.
Jessie Combs.
Jessie Combs. Yes. Are we able? Okay, you haven't.
Yeah, you want me to show it?
Well, I don't know. Are we able to pull that up and not lose audio? 'Cause we did that last time.
So here, I think we still got audio.
Okay. Can somebody let us know if we still have audio? Because I don't want to. We went black. Oh, we didn't go black. We just went. We went. What do you call it?
Yeah, we still got it.
Okay, we still have audio. Very good.
Yep.
Okay. So Jessie Combs, she's considered the fastest woman alive at this moment, and the thing was though that the top 300 high school athletes, they were faster than she was, and these were high school guys. These were not even people that were at the top of the men's league. These are high school guys who are going to have a hard time competing in college and a far more difficult time competing on the Olympic level. For racing. So there is a biological disparity, and these are things that, whether you like it or not, like we have to come to an exception that men and women are different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also want to recognize that there are things that women are better at than
Absolutely.
men. And then I think that we see the reverse. Is just a lot of modern feminist movements don't like to acknowledge that there are things that women are better than men, and they get the popularity and they get the advantages
Praise,
and the bonuses
right.
and praise. But the feminist movement doesn't acknowledge that. They just look at the things that men are better at than women and then complain about that.
Right.
I think that it genuinely comes down to this victim martyr mentality that unfortunately we really like to kind of leech onto.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it may be. It may be skin color, it may be your sex, it may be whatever it is. I think that women, especially because we're more emotional naturally, not to say that there's women that are more physical and men that are more emotional, because there are,
Right.
but for the most part, women are more emotional. And so I think that we are quicker to be okay with making ourselves the victim, right? So, you can see it all over social media. And I'm guilty of this, and I probably have told both of you that all men are horrible, right?
And that's coming from you because I don't know. I don't feel that.
But, in reality, all men are not horrible. Wow, that hurt me to say.
Well, thank you, Chelsey.
Appreciate it.
But it's just we're more emotional, where it's easier for us to blame other people than to look inward. So, and that goes for everyone in any situation where you may want to victimize yourself. So that's how I believe this very toxic version of women are equal to men came to be. It just came with a victim mentality of
Right.
like, well, men are the worst. I
Right.
can do it without them,
Right.
But that comes from a place of hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't just come from nowhere. A woman doesn't have great experiences with men and then is like, oh, I can do this on my own. I don't need them. That doesn't happen. So that comes from a place of hurt, whether that be from a father figure, from a spouse, a boyfriend, whoever.
Right.
But that's where it kind of stems from. And I just think that any person, regardless, I guess in this situation we're talking about feminism, so any woman that has to make themselves feel better by putting any other person down, whether that be a male or a female, is in the wrong. I don't feel like in any, honestly, the biggest downfall to feminism is other women. You don't see men going around saying, oh, women are horrible, women are horrible.
Yeah,
no.
that's true.
But women will tell you women are horrible. So, you know, in my opinion, that's the worst. There's nothing more than I hate than the hypocrisy of a woman going, oh, uplift other women, and then you go to dinner with her and she's telling you all about all the women she can't stand. Like, it's true, and it's just a woman thing, you know? So, for me, if you're going to talk about how great women are and how much better they are than men, well, no, because you have to talk about all men, right? And not all men are horrible.
Thank you, Chelsey.
Man, it hurts her.
Yeah.
That's
It's
tough.
a sensitive time.
one of the things that I also wanted to kind of discuss was, I think it's also on what you value. If we're just going to actually just be materialist and just say, you know, we're going to value who makes the money and stuff like that, and we're going to value who has these, you know, these physical abilities, and we're going to only value them because we have a culture and a society that you're able to make money off of that. I think we've really missed the point. Like, I have to think to myself, one, just think about the idea, like, a woman can create a baby. Yes, you need a man, but the woman, like, is actually, like, the biggest reason that we have life. Right. They're contributing far more than a man is to creating a baby and life. That's precious. Like, our greatest asset in humanity, like, even from an economical level, is human beings. Right. Human beings from an economical level are the greatest asset that we have.
Well, yeah.
The more humans we have, the more we come up with solutions to problems, the more innovation we have. And women are actually producing, yes, for any men that's upset with me for not being, you know, completely down the line here. But the point is that, yes, men are part of creating child, but women, you know, have this gifting of doing, you know, much of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I think another thing we do is, like you were saying, we just put so much emphasis on, like, success is determined by who makes the most money, and it's really not. Right. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad worked full time. Yeah. So my dad took his salary and gave part of it to my mom. I think it was like, I don't know if he did 50-50, I don't know, but
it's pretty good.
I know I don't know what he did, but I don't want to say, like, exactly.
Good job,
what the
Good job.
I don't want to say exactly what the numbers were, but I feel, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to, like, throw my dad out there, but I feel like my mom did a lot.
Right.
She was up from, like, 6 in the morning doing her, like, prayers and praying for all her kids and everything and spending her alone time with God. Yeah. And then she would make us breakfast and get us ready for school. My dad is still sleeping, by the way. And then take us to school at, like, 7 or 8 in the morning. Then my dad wakes up and goes to work. And then she has to go do groceries to get the things to cook lunch or dinner or whatever.
Right.
And then when my dad would come back, the food would be ready, and then we would eat as well. And it was just nonstop for her.
Right.
I think she woke up earlier, worked longer, and finished work later than my dad, because even when my dad would come home, like, it was still nonstop for her.
Right.
I'd say she worked 80 hours a week. My dad worked 40. You know?
Right, and what women don't even understand is that they've kind of made it harder for us. So, yeah, that used to be very normal. It used to be very normal to be a housewife and to take care of your family and to make sure that the house is clean and the food is cooked and the clothes is clean. But now we've come into this generation that's like, not only can I do all of that, but I can work a full-time job. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, sure, but you're doing double the work now, because now, you know, you have a full-time job at home, which is taking care of your family, and now you also have a full-time job at your job. Yeah. And so women have kind of made it harder for themselves, which blows my mind, but we've made it harder for ourselves to even be successful because we're burning out. Mm-hmm. You know, we're burning out. And I don't have kids, but I can tell you that whenever I spend days in a row with my godchildren, or, like, this weekend with my family, like, kids are exhausting. And, you know, like, that's a full-time 80-hour, not even. Just
exactly.
Consistent, nonstop job, you know?
No, and I'm not saying that every woman should do what my mom did. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that, like... No, I mean, I'm just trying to say that, like, who's more successful? Who's to say that, oh, because my dad made more money than my mom, he's more successful? But who really, yeah, he provided the money that we needed in order for my mom to be able to do everything she did, but she put in the time in order to make us who we are, So
Right.
I think they're both equal partners in
Absolutely.
creating a successful family.
Right.
It has nothing to do with who made more money. And that's
And
what
I
I'm trying
think
to say.
that we're born with natural traits to complement that. So I don't think either of us can say that one sex is greater than the other. I believe that we are all created equal. But I do believe that we were created with natural differences
Yes.
that don't supersede one another, but that complement one another.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
obviously Doug could probably physically beat me at anything, but, and he actually cleans pretty well too, but I don't know what else I'd be good at.
You probably cook better than me.
I probably cook better than Doug. Bake for sure better than
Oh,
Doug.
yes.
And you're
So-
better at your job than he is.
Right. So
Yes.
anything else? Keep going. So
whatever
You're
you have to
probably
train
more
you.
caring, more patient, more compassionate.
yeah. D, chime in.
Doug's the worst.
So I just think that, I'm not better than Doug. Doug is no better than me. I'm not better than Fernando. Fernando's not better than me. But I
No.
believe we,
Just kidding.
all men are the worst. I changed my
Can we
mind.
erase that?
But I think that we all have different natural gifts that complement one another.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
not to say that you need a man, not to say that you need a woman, because, that's a topic for another day, but
Yeah.
you may not ever in
right.
your life have a man or have a woman,
Yeah, you
but
can be single.
right.
You
Right.
can do everything you need
And
to
you
do.
can do it yourself, but I believe that in that unity, there's like a complement.
Absolutely. I think that it's a much richer life.
Yeah.
I think being married, I think relationships in general are a good thing. They're good for me. It challenges me. It causes me to look at areas of my life that I could be better. And it's typically the people that are more different from me that
Right.
push me there. If I'm just around men all day, the chances are I'm going to agree with most men on how to conduct and live myself
Well,
in
I
the
don't
world.
agree with most women. So.
But when I'm around women, that is something that I have found to be something that's really great for me. I always used to think and credit my dad with who I am. And then the older and older that, every year that has gone on in my life, I realized, wow, how much I would not be who I am had it not been my mother. Just taking the time and realizing that,
Yeah.
wow, not everybody gets that. My experience is similar to, I believe, both of yours, where I did have a dad who worked and I had a mom that stayed home, especially for my younger years. I think until I was like 14 or 15, then she went back into her career field. But I got to have that and realize that even to this day, still having somebody who is there and is patient for me, and even though I'm about to be 31 and my parents are still my parents,
Mhm.
my mother is still my mother. And, I would not be who I am today without the influence of, great women in my life. My wife, my sister, friends like you, Chelsey. These are all things that are really, really good for me because there's a difference in them. And I think it's a really great idea to value those differences and not. I think that when we get caught up, I think the heart behind the feminist movement today, not its origins. I think its origins were
Right.
pretty noble actually. But I think the heart behind the feminist movement today is that they're valuing the wrong things. I think that
Right.
they're not valuing who they are, and and I don't know where that comes from. But I think that shows like this and being people who
Yeah.
influence society, and the reason behind us is to do that, to be that change on
Yeah.
the local level.
Yeah, value who you are. I think in the United States today, if you're a woman and you put your mind to something, you're gonna succeed
Yeah,
just as
you can
well
do it,
or better
right.
than men. Don't have that mentality that like, oh, because I'm a woman, I'm gonna be oppressed. Because then you're oppressing yourself,
Right.
Yeah.
really.
You're making yourself the victim.
Yeah, if you want to go to FIU and do computer science and apply for a software engineering position, you're gonna make more money than me because I'm not that good, and Doug, I forgot what it is. You do your social worker, right?
I'm a social worker. No, I'm a civil servant.
Civil servant. There you go.
Civil
Well, and if
servant.
you're a woman and that's what you want to do, you're probably gonna be better than Doug too, because he's probably not that good either, right?
Oh no, I'm actually really good. It's more of a physical labor.
Oh, okay.
That's
No,
actually
but
a little bit different. I will say that women can do it,
just
and there's
take the
been a
hit. Take the
few.
hit. Take the hit.
No,
Takes
no,
a
we
lot.
have to
Takes a
be
lot.
objective. We have to be objective here.
No,
but there are women who can do it.
But yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
just I'm all jokes aside, like if you're a woman and you put your heart and your mind to it, I think you're gonna succeed
Yes.
just as well as men are. I think that taking an I'm oppressed mentality because I'm a woman is just gonna hinder you further.
Right.
So
Which is so common, guys. All the women are talking about it.
Yes. So I think the taking this whole show full circle is men and women are different. We have difference. Value our differences. Accept our differences. Value what we have to offer. And just because there's not a price tag to it, just because it's not. Yeah. Basically, it's a price tag. That's what it all comes down to. There's not a price tag to it. Doesn't mean what you have to offer is not valuable. And I think that's the same. For men and women. This is something that me and Fernando do this show. This is not our full-time job. We don't get paid for do this, but we put in hours and we study for this and we try to prepare ourselves for this and to deliver the best of what we can offer. And I think this is very valuable, even though I'm not getting paid. I actually value this more than my own career.
right.
Very much so. And if I ever do get to the point where I can just do this full time, I will do it in a heartbeat, and we'll do shows every day.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get better at cooking.
Yeah, no, if I get that
Maybe
good
you
at
guys can
this,
have a
if this
cooking
gets,
segment.
we're
Do a
gonna
cooking
bring,
segment.
we'll bring you back and bring my wife Dee, baby. We're gonna come on
yeah.
here.
We could
We'll
have
do
good
a show.
discussions.
Yes, yes,
That's
So,
just
yeah.
like a casual Saturday with the girls.
yes, yes.
These
yes,
are the
it is.
conversations we have anyways.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that I don't think we have time to talk about it today, but it kind of ties in between this and the trans movement is now transgenders being in women's sports. So
Right.
biological males that identify as females and going through the transition now being in female sports and completely dominating and
Right.
that's probably something we want to talk about. It's a little late now, but we'll talk about it next time, or not next week, but when we get to that topic.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
now that we've set the basis here to say that like men can do what women can and vice versa, obviously there are natural differences, and those natural differences are what cause those problems there. And I think that's what we're going to get into when we talk about that. So.
Yes. So I'm very excited. Thank you, Chelsey, so much for being on the show.
Thank you,
We
guys.
appreciate it. This was very fun. We're gonna have you back on sometime soon.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Do you want to leave any parting words, or are you good?
Men, no, men suck. No.
Men are the worst.
Men are the worst. No, I mean, just surround yourself with people that see both sides, that kind of seek the truth, not necessarily just what's popular. I've kind of always done that, which is why I've been canceled so many times, which is probably why I'm going to get canceled again.
No, you're not going to get canceled.
But just seek the truth, find the truth on your own. Don't just believe what the person next to you says just because they're saying it. And you're going to be mind blown with the things that you find.
Yeah, even what we're saying right now about the wage gap and the different
Look
things.
it up.
Yep.
Look it up. Look it up. See it for yourself. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
let's
thank
wrap
you
it up.
guys so much. We're going to be signing off, but please, DM me, DM Fernando. If you have topics that you want to discuss, if you want to be on the show yourself, please reach out to us. We'd love to have that conversation with you. This is episode 6. We just thank you for this. I've been watching the live stream. We've had up to 10 or 11 people streaming at one point, so that was really exciting. And I forget what the total is, the total of people that have signed on, but it's been we've been getting hundreds of views, so we're really excited. We really love this. But this is the Doug and Fur Show. I'm Doug Petrozelli.
I'm Fur, and this is our guest star Chelsey, and thanks for watching.
See you later.
Bye.